A menu is more than a list of food items. The menu can build intrigue, entertain, create expectations and value, such as higher prices. As you build your concept and menu, draw upon your own experiences. Talk to others, and if you see or taste something you like, experiment and make it yourself, and add your own little twist.
So when we started our menu development at the resort, one of the things that I really started to think about was where I came from and about food traditions in my hometown and how that influenced my thinking on the way I wanted to create menus. So literally what I did was take foods that I grew up with, not only foods that I grew up with, but also foods that I had experiences with from my travels around the world and around the United States, and started thinking about how do I fuse these things together, and that's how I came up with the concept of new Appalachian cuisine. Egg rolls is one of the things that I really liked when I was traveling around and we would try Asian restaurants. So I thought, how do I take that concept of that Asian food, that egg roll, and incorporate it into something that I grew up with? And so that's where we took pork barbecue, and that's a typical Southern food and one that we grew up with. We incorporated that into the egg roll, and we put fennel and carrots with it. So we rolled it up, we put it with a Thai peanut sauce and seaweed salad. So what you have here is that global food, the egg roll, the local indigenous food that I grew up with, pork barbecue, and we gave it that regional interpretation and called it a new Appalachian egg roll. So that's how we came at developing menu items for our menu, and we did that all the way through each menu item. We took every item on the menu and tried to figure out how are we going to first of all give it a global feel, and then infuse that that piece of local to it and give it that interpretation of Appalachian.
I had lived in other parts of the country, in particular New Orleans, and had gotten a great flavor for the Creole and crawfish and shrimp and fresh fish, and some friends that I lived with down there were novice cooks and we loved the celebratory thing associated with cooking. And I had a desire to learn, and had always sketched down recipes and asked questions and whatnot. But when people ask me today where I get all my ideas and the diversity of the menu and whatnot, I tell them that the creation of a menu is 100% pure theft, that I see it somewhere and I emulate, plagiarize, whatever you can. I mean, I don't break in and steal the recipes, but I study things, whether it's specific meals or, and I continually study and try experimenting and finding out what works and talk to people and whatnot. My personal preference is for not only texturally that it has and visually and aroma, but that how do you feel 2 hours after you've eaten it? And I think in today's society, if you engineered foods, I think are one of the biggest contributing factors to obesity and whatnot. A good way to think about that, if you look at whole wheat matzo crackers, the ingredients are whole wheat and water. If you look at a saltine, there's a paragraph of some 20-letter words that are in there. And I think these additives and whatnot mess up with the brain-body connection. They send wrong messages for different reasons, and I think it contributes to some of today's health issues. But bold flavors and how your aftertastes, you know, an hour after, and you're going like that, and you still have this flavor, and you feel like you ate whole foods, you know, that's part of our goal.